Hey guys, it's Kate, and I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I'm so glad you're here because we're going to get together and do a abstract watercolor or some kind of watercolor. And so I have my Princeton Aqua Elite quill brush and my Mailing palette, and I'm going to dip into the emerald green and kind of put some here on my tray right next to me with plenty of water. And I'm going to get a few shades of green that I don't work with a whole lot. So I've got emerald green. I'm going to go into the yellow green on the palette, which is a really nice bright green color. And I'm going to mix some of that in there too. And that's going to be sort of my light value. And then I'm going to go into the hooker's green, which is a little bit of a different green shade. And I'm going to start with these and go from there. So I'm going to move this just a little bit closer. And then I've got my paper taped down, and I'm still playing around with that 5S watercolor paper that I did a video on. And it's been kind of fun to play with. I don't know if I'll get more of it, but I do like it. And I got a huge pack. So, when you get a huge pack of paper, you use it up. And sorry, I'm just getting a couple of little, my cat must have been up here, so got a couple little hairs. So I'm getting my paper good and damp. I'm going to work wet and wet today and put down a first background layer. I've been working a little bit lately with tape down paper, so I'm just going to play around with that. I'm going to get plenty of lightness and brightness in here. I'm going to dip right into that emerald green, and I do have a lot of water, so I may end up dabbing a little bit back, but one thing I've noticed about this paper is it is very thirsty, and the color moves, not a ton, but it moves, and it might be partially because I do have a lot of wetness here, so I'm just going to play around here with some color, and I'm going to dip into this hooker's green now and put some around the edges and just get my paper covered. But I want my bright areas in here, so I might even go in and blot some of this back and brighten it up a bit, take off a little bit of that excess water that we've got kind of collecting, and I may go back into this brighter green and just mix some more in there. And go in here and just dab back the very dark areas. Let me get some more of that green mixed up here and drop some in so we have some nice blended areas like this. Let me go back into that emerald and just do some dabbing. Just a little bit of dabbing. A little dab will do you. And I think maybe this will be good. Like that. I'm going to see if I have any extra water, anything pooling up around my edges, and I don't think I do. So I see a pretty good sheen on my paper, which is good, but no puddles. Why don't we add some of our favorite alcohol? Now I'm just going to shake some right on here. You can see those marks come up right away. And alcohol has the most beautiful effect on watercolor. It's really incredible. And I think that looks pretty good. And this actually helps lighten up some of the values too. And I'm going to kind of put them in this general area, not so much down here, not so much up there. Now let's let it dry. All right, I am back and pretty much all dry, and you see my marks from that alcohol. I'm going to come in with my other spray bottle and just put kind of a light spritz on my paper. And I'm going to go into the light sky blue and start dropping some of that in there. I'm going to go kind of easy through here to add a second layer and just kind of play around with some color. And I'm going to use this to tone down the color a little bit, but still have some pretty good values going and introduce a little bit of a more neutral color palette. Just like that. And I really like this sky blue that's in the Mei Liang palette. It's pretty color, and it's almost like, I don't know, it reminds me kind of like a Wedgwood blue. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Wedgwood, but it was this really collectible kind of, I don't know if it was porcelain or what, but it's just this really pretty signature blue color. And it just makes me think of that. I'm going to add some more of that deeper green in here, right around some of these lighter spots, and mix that in with the blue a little bit. Just like that. Now's where we can really deepen some of that color and also leave that cloudiness in here. I'm going to do that on this side as well. And we're going to layer up. And I really love working with these nice big brushes. All right, going to add a little there. And we can go back into this other, what's the color? The yellow green a little bit, and add some of that back in as another layer over some of this green. And it's almost like it can peek out of there and just sort of come in contact with some of these other colors. But you get that nice little pop of the brightness. All right. Now what I'm going to do is add some more alcohol. And so what it will probably do, wait a minute, that's not my alcohol, that's my water. This one's labeled so I don't get them confused. But when you layer alcohol on over another paint layer, sometimes you can get that paint to come back and kind of reveal the paint coat underneath, and it can look pretty neat. So I'm going to come in here, and you can see a little bit of that happening, and it kind of mixes with the second layer. And because some of our bottom layer that was dry is on here, it's not really going to have an effect through that center bright spot. So I'm just going to come in here and add those little splashes, because I love the splashes. And my paper's still pretty wet, so we're going to have a little bit of a mixture of effects here. Some of them will be more pronounced, but we're going to get a lot of texture when this dries and a lot of blending. And I'm just adding it pretty liberally here, letting the dots kind of overlap with each other and just blend everything together. All right, let's let this dry again. Okay, we are just very, very slightly cool to the touch, but mostly dry. So you can see all that wonderful texture where that alcohol was, and I spread that pretty liberally. And I think now I'd really like to add some metallics. So I got my smaller round brush. This is a number 4. And I am dipping into and activating my bronze color on the Mei Liang palette. And I really love that color. I think that sort of warm golden color will go really nicely over the green. And I'm going to make just some simple kind of rounded shapes here with a pretty thick layer of that bronze so that we can really see it pop up off the page. And I'm going to sort of scatter these little ovals in some of these darker areas where they'll have more contrast. And then I'm probably going to add a few in the lighter spots as well, because this is a color that I think would contrast well on both backgrounds. And so I don't want to add too many colors or too many shapes, but I'm definitely going to add a few to get that nice interest going. And maybe I'll even bring it out into this brighter yellow over here. And they're kind of, I guess, slightly similar shapes, but they're not too uniform. And I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to add just a few over here so we can have them in another spot on our painting. I'm just dipping into the water so I can just keep that paint nice and wet and activated, and we can add these colors. And I'm dipping frequently, just like this. I love these little shapes that you can get. And it's just interesting how you can just change the look of something by adding a simple little shape or a simple little color. And I might add those kind of close together so it doesn't look quite so uniform. All right. And then, you know what, actually what I might do is add just a couple small splashes in this area here and a couple of small splashes in this area there, and let it come out into that nice bright color again. But it's just simple because we have so much going on our textured background. I really want to let that shine. And even though we have these marks here and that adds some interest, I really love this bright pathway we have through here. But we've also got that metallic color spread on our painting, and it just gives it that nice, warm, shiny look. And I think this was a fun little watercolor abstract that we did together today. I'm going to hold it up so you can see that wonderful shine on that bronze paint and all that wonderful texture we got from the alcohol. And we have some nice value ranges on here with some strong edges, and I really love how this turned out. So I hope you enjoyed doing this painting with me today with your watercolor palette. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep creating.